Welcome to another episode of Courageous Me. This is really cool because the gorgeous woman, Nicole O'Sullivan, that we're speaking to today, I was speaking at a Slay Your Business event, and at the very end, they asked a number of different people to get up and do a 1 minute business pitch, right? Now, that's really hard. One, it's impromptu. Two, you've only got 1 minute. This woman, Nicole, got invited up. She had 1 minute. The best part for me, yes, she said gorgeous things. The best part for me was, and Nicole, I'm not going to get the wording right, but something like, I'm freaking amazing. Work with me. I get your results. It was something like that. You totally owned your value. And I remember thinking, oh, this is my kind of woman, and I got to get her on the podcast. So I don't know anything else about her. You're going to get to know her with me right now. But anyone who can confidently get up and say, yeah, I'm bloody good at what I do, and if you want results, come to me. This is her. So we're going to unpack, we're going to learn about her, and hopefully, Nicole, you might give us some little sales tips along the way. I'm sure we could all do with some more of them, even those seasoned sales professionals. So before we get into knowing more about who you are, could you just share a bit more about what you do and who is Nicole?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you. I won't repeat what I said because it was a little bit explicit, but yeah, I think it was more of a how do I get people to pay attention, and the other thing too is working on yourself, which I think is something that I love hearing your journey because there's so much inner work we've got to do for ourselves before we start putting ourselves out there. So I think that's what drew me to you especially. But what I do is I am a sales performance coach. So what I do is I work with businesses to help grow their sales. But what I do, it's really psychological, right? It's all about removing roadblocks for people that have those doubts like, oh, no one's going to buy from me, or what if they say no, or what if they think that I'm hounding them when I'm following them up, all those, internal dialogue that happens, I remove that out of the way and help them to grow business tenfold, really. I help 10x businesses within 90 days. I've got so many examples of this happening. So I love it. That's why I'm bloody good at what I do.
Oh my God. And you will have work for life, right? Because the amount of people that have those inhibitions, even those that are out there selling and do sales for a living, still face those inner critics or the self-doubt or the what if. So I know I certainly could do with a dose of you. So like I said, we'll learn more.
Yeah.
So Nicole, on that note, when is the time anywhere in your life, I don't care how far back you've got to go, but when is the moment when you really remembered where you had to reach in and find some courage?
Oh, look, I feel like probably the most recent for me is the last 12 months because I came from the travel industry. I worked in travel for nearly 20 years. Well, it's been my majority of my career. And, that's been able to take me. I used to live in the USA. I lived there for 6 years. So I was able to move across there with my job, which took courage to do that, of course. But I was super, once I have something in my mind, I will try really hard to make sure that's achieved. I've always been just a natural goal setter for things that I really want to achieve. So yeah, overseas was something I really wanted. So that was great. But when I came home, I kind of got approached to do some work, to do some coaching, I guess, some sales coaching or something like that. So I kind of got approached to start my business, really. So in 2019, I took the plunge, left my job that I'd been in for majority of my life and started my own business, which at the time was like really fun. And I was like, oh, this is great. And it all was landing for me like perfectly laid out. I was like, oh, this is so easy. God, starting business is fantastic. Wow. And I was getting job after job after job, traveling around the world. It was just living the dream. And then COVID hit. And of course, as everyone knows, everyone suffered quite dramatically, but travel industry specifically was completely crippled, on their knees and nowhere to go, right? You can't even leave your state. Victorians couldn't even leave 5 kilometers from their house. It was quite jarring. So I hibernated my business. I just put it on hold and I thought, I'll come back to it. And instead of probably deep diving into it a little bit more, I went and tried different industries. So I really put myself out of my comfort zone. I went and worked in the jewelry industry as an area manager in Victoria, which was great, trying to test my skills and see what I could do in other areas. And then after about 8 months, I left there because I'm very much a values-driven person, and we weren't really aligning, so that's fine. And then I went in. I thought, what's really gonna challenge me? And so I went into the construction industry, and I was high-vising, helmet, boots, like full high-vis mode, full construction mode, and I was an area manager for CSR Gyprock. So I was helping people sell plasterboard, which is very different from traveling.
And very different from jewelry too, right?
Oh yeah, very different. So that really was probably the most courageous thing I think I've done. I think really leaving an industry that I'm so, embedded in, and trying something completely new and different. I did that for 2 years, up at 5 a.m., like every day, driving to my store, and talking about a product that I had no bloody clue about. So, but I think where I really thrived was, I'm a people person. I can understand when culture is fractured and how we can build that back together. And that was really what I did. I focused on how we could be better as a team, how we could focus on things that were in our control, not out of our control. Because I think if you can kind of remember, the trade industry boomed through COVID because people were renovating and doing all the things. And so they were like killing it. And then there was the lag effect. So then all the suppliers that were trying to come into the country started to be delayed. So all of a sudden the plaster was not being delivered on time. And so now we have this backlog. And then there was another industry that, had an issue. So then all of their customers came to us. So all of a sudden my team were coming to me, how are we going to make budget? How are we going to make sales? How do I get paid? Because we don't have enough plaster to sell. And then I'd be like, guys, just a reminder, have a look around your showroom. There is thousands of things we can be selling right now. Let's have a think about how we can really sell that. So my division of Victoria, we were the highest growth in all categories of all items that we had. No other stores were looking in beneath the hood to see what else they could be selling. So yeah, we just I just don't look at problems. There's no such word as problem in my vocabulary. I look at there's always a solution, and that's just what drives me. I just go, no, that's not a problem. We can fix that. We can fix that. We can do that. We can do something different. So yeah, so I guess long-winded answer, sorry, but what was courageous was just going, I am just going to put myself in a completely different field, and I'm just going to see if I can use the skills that I've got to see if I can survive COVID and see what else I can come out of it. So yeah.
And were the skills transferable?
100%.
That was almost a trick question, like a tongue-in-cheek question. Yeah.
Sales are sales and people are people, and that will be my mantra for the rest of my life.
And that's why you'll have work for the rest of your life, because most people are in sales in some way, shape or form. So yeah, that's fantastic. So tell me then about when you were a little girl growing up, what did you want to be?
Oh, that's a great question. I wanted to be a marine biologist, I think.
Oh, wow. Why was that?
I wanted to work with dolphins. I think that was my big thing. I really wanted to do that. But I used to be a really good drawer. Well, I probably still am a good drawer. I just haven't done it for a long time. So when I was in high school, I wanted to be a graphic designer. That's what I really wanted to be. So I went to school. I got my degree in graphic design, but I've never used it ever. So it's good, the diagrams, but other than that.
Why didn't you use it? So you've done graphic design after school, studied graphic design. Why didn't you go into graphic design?
I flew overseas. So I flew to the UK, and I decided I had it in my head that everybody that graduated in my division was going to have very similar portfolios. And so I thought, I'm going to think out of the box, and I'm going to go and do my portfolio overseas, because it'll be an edge up, right? Because, all the good jobs are going to go to all the really good graphic designers. And I, at the time, probably thought that I wasn't the highest. I thought I was in the middle, mediocre. So I thought, I know, I'm just going to go overseas, and I'm going to I'm going to get a great graphic job over in the UK. So I did that. I had a family friend that was a graphic designer. So I lived with their family in Northern Ireland. So I moved to Belfast, and I was there for a couple of years. And her lifestyle, I thought to myself, I don't want to do that. She worked her guts out. And maybe that's because she was very fantastic at what she did. But I wasn't that passionate about getting right in there and doing that. Like, I think I was like, oh, and then when I moved to the UK, or when I moved to Belfast, I just loved talking about Australia and traveling. And then someone said, you should you should work for tourism. You are really good. I want to pack my bags now and go to Australia. And so then I thought about it and went, maybe I could do that. So I just kind of flapped around in the UK, to be honest. I did a couple of jobs, worked in pubs, as you do, did some different things. And then when I moved home, that's exactly what I did. I went and started my travel journey. So I worked for Flight Centre Travel Group for 17 years. I worked for Flight Centre for. So, as soon as I got home from overseas, I got that job.
Totally. But you know what's so interesting? I hear this story so often where you go to school, you're good at drawing, go and do a degree in graphic design, and then you see someone else doing that job that you thought is what you wanted, seeing the lifestyle they had and thought, I don't actually want that. But so many people still follow that path because it's like, but that's what I've studied. That's what I've got the skills to do. That means, that 3-year degree down the tube, what a waste. Which it's not, because you've still learnt skills that are transferable along the way and obviously led you down that travel path.
Totally.
Oh, that's gorgeous. So travel has come back, right?
Oh, it's booming. Oh my gosh. Better than before. Yeah.
I know, right? So you've gone into construction. Was there ever a moment once travel really got its legs again that you thought, maybe I'll go back to travel? Or by this stage, had you kind of like flown the coop and seen there's so much more out there?
Well, yeah, it's a really good question, because I think I got a little bit, I wouldn't say cocky. I would say I got a little bit confused about who I was and what I was offering, because I came out of it and went, well, I can be anything to anyone. Like, I can help everybody. And so I used the analogy that I started to drink from the fire hydrant and I was drowning myself so much that I was so confused about the path that I needed to go down. And so, it took me, probably the last 12 months. So I left construction in 2023. And so 2024 was a rebuild for myself. So I basically unhibernated my business and then went, right, I'm now going to do everybody. So anyone that's selling, I am your girl. And then it has it, like, no one knew who I was. I had to build my brand. I had to start from the very, very beginning. And so all of last year was literally I said to my partner, okay, I'm going to go all in. And for some reason, travel I was resistant to, because I thought to myself, no, that chapter's closed now. Move on. You've shown that you don't have to go back into that space. And so I was so resistant. But when I really looked down and I started writing down who I knew in my network, so I'd write it all down, and everyone I knew was in travel. I'm like, what am I doing? Stop resisting. What am I resisting about? And
Why were you resisting?
Well, it's interesting how we always take on other people's advice, right? So many people said to me, there's no money in travel. No one's going to pay you to do what you do. No one's going to pay you to be their coach. No one's going to pay you money to help and so that was the narrative. And I believed that so much that I just resisted going back into an industry that I was super confident in and had gotten results in. So then I don't know, maybe it was like a lightning strike, and it was like, girl, wake up to yourself, just give it a crack. And so I did. And so I said to my partner, I am going to be everywhere this year. This was last year. I said, I am going to every single event that I can possibly go to, and I'm going to get my name out there, and I'm going to build my brand. And he's like, okay. So I was in a massive deficit last year. I didn't make any money. I was in the red, and because I invested in networking, and I just if I got paid $1 for every time someone says, you're everywhere, I wouldn't have to work. Honestly, it's I went hardcore, went really for it, and it's paid off now. So now I'm in a place where well, thankfully, I know I need to start doing it, but I don't have to prospect right now. People are referring me and recommending me and coming to me through my LinkedIn and things like that because I've really worked hard on my brand building.
Mm.
And you know what? That's taking courage too, putting yourself out there when no one knows who you are, and then you get people reaching out going, sorry, who are you and why, what do you do, where have you come from? And it's like, oh, so it's worked, and it's been a really great lesson. Learned a lot of lessons, but showing up has been really hard at times. It's hard to put yourself out there and be vulnerable and let people into your world. So it's been a really interesting journey, but I can finally say I'm actually getting booked, I'm actually getting busy, and I'm really enjoying it, and I love what I do. Like, I honestly love it.
Oh, I can tell that. I can tell that just by the way you speak about it, because not everyone speaks about what they do with the same kind of passion that you have. So I totally understand the whole, almost changing identities and going through that and coming out to the world going, hey, I know this is still me, but I'm different. Look at me. I'm like that little peacock with the fancy tail.
Yes.
How did you do that from an inner point of view? Because, and I guess when you first opened, you talked a lot about sales and the psychology and getting past some of those limiting beliefs that's such a core part of any success in sales. How did you do that for you, that you could show up, not getting any work without the validation yet because you're in your early days, albeit a resuscitated business that had come off hibernation? I think that's a really cool way of saying it. How did you show up? Like, where did you get the confidence or the courage to do that?
I'm a big believer of, if you've got the people in your corner to help you, it's a big asset. So I've spent so much money on self-development, like sometimes even to the detriment, because you sort of think like you pay someone to be a coach, and then all of a sudden, like, I know we're both coaches, but it's such an unregistered, like there's so many coaches out there that are not qualified, right? So I've spent so much money on the wrong people, but I've also spent money on the right people. And I think that the more work you can do on you, the better you are for everybody around you. And look, there's been a lot of fetal positions underneath desks crying, going, what am I doing? Have I done the right thing? And I think it's worth really knowing your values, like really knowing what's important to you and really sticking to that, because one of mine is contribution. And I was having a big struggle internally because I wasn't contributing financially, because I've always had a corporate job. I've always done well for myself. I've always been earning those big paychecks, and if I wanted to buy a handbag, I could go and buy a handbag or shoes or whatever, and never had to think about it. Whereas last year was really tough because it was like I felt guilty going to buy a pair of shoes, going, I can't afford these, right? Like, I don't have any money to contribute. And so that was really, really hard. And, I'm very, very grateful and fortunate to have a great partner who's like, hey, you make dinner for us. You show up, you do this, you do that's contribution. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not. I'm not earning any money. I'm a loser. And he's like, you're not. Like, you're putting yourself out there, and it's gonna happen. You just, So I think it's about going. I think Brené Brown talks about this as well, being in the arena, and it's tough. Like, you are all bloodied and muddied and, scraped up. And at the end of the day, there are so many cheap sheets and pot shots that people make at you because it's their own. When you do NLP too, it's that projection is perception is projection. So what they're projecting onto you is their way of thinking, of going, I could never do that. And so to make me feel better, I'm just going to take a pot shot at you to make me feel good. And once you start realizing that, like where your rings are, like who's in your box seats, who's paying top dollar to sit right next to you, who's also been in the arena, like done what you've done. So surround yourself with that and do your research, like really make sure you've got the person that's going to challenge you, not just agree with you. And I think that's probably where I've done a lot of work on myself. I mean, when I lived in the US, the last year that I had over there was not a good one, and I was not in a good place. I was very depressed. I was even contemplating driving my car off a road, like just not in a good place at all. And, coming, like when I look back at that person, like I don't even recognize that person anymore. Like that person doesn't exist anymore. Like
How
it's,
did you get to that point? Do you know?
oh, I think again, I didn't know my values, but I knew when you're not in line, it really does jack you up, right?
Yep.
Like I'm such a people orientated person, and when I know my people are not not safe or not in a good, not heading in a right direction because of other people's dictatorship or leadership, I really struggle to try and, like, I would be the shield. I would try and protect them by taking all the hits, and I think that really ground me down to the point of, like, I was very, very broken. And, and then I loved living in the US. It was such a dream and a passion of mine. And I thought I was going to live there forever. And then, that year broke me. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to go home. Like, I just got to come back and rebuild. And
Why did you feel you had to rebuild back here and not rebuild while you were over there, if that had been such a big kind of passion of yours to live over there?
Yeah, it's because my network had started to dwindle, right? So a lot of Aussies that I was hanging around, they were leaving, they were moving on, and so my group that was my sounding board and my support network was gone, and so I felt really alone and felt really, I was not in a great place at all. So so moving back from that was, at the start was a tough decision because I knew it was very torn to go, I really love living here, but I just don't feel like I have anything to live for here. And so I had to just so that was also probably a bit of a courageous move to go.
Massive.
Smoke. So, I've lived here for 6 years, and now it's time. And I've got nothing to go back to. Like I got no house, I've got no car.
That's why I was asking, why did you make that move when, you were established where you were?
And
did you have family back here?
Yeah, I had family back here, and I had family in the US, but they were on the West Coast. So I wasn't living on the East Coast, so I didn't have that network either. Like, right there. So I think it was just I just need to do this. I need a jolt. Like, I need something really different. And the only thing I could think of was, like, I'm done here. I've got to pack up and go. And that potentially could have been the reason why I wanted to close the chapter on travel as well. Like, okay, this is where I just want to cut the tie and move on. But it's an industry that I'm super passionate about and I love, and I'm back in there a little bit more now, where I'm helping businesses with their sales. But that doesn't. I'm also now open to go, well, that's not the only thing. I've helped hospitality businesses. I've helped mortgage brokers. I've helped, construction businesses, all those kind of things. So I mean, even though travel is a big passion of mine, and I stopped being resistant to that, but I think that was probably a bit of the reason why. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And when you were at your all-time low while you're over in the States, had you done much work on yourself at that time, or was that moment almost that rock bottom kind of dark night of the soul for anyone who's a bit more, who understands what I say when I say that? Do you think that's what then triggered the inner work?
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't come straight away either. Like, I think I had a mask on for a while, I think, like, tried to hide the scars a little bit. Like, I went back to Flight Centre eventually, and did a couple of years, and then I tried again. Like, I was like, well, then I got the tap on the shoulder. So it was kind of like the sign to go, here you go, there's an opportunity here. Why don't you just give it a crack? And so, that was kind of I think if I'm really honest with myself, like, I don't think I was myself properly, or showed up properly, to who I am now, Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Can I ask how old you were again, just for context?
In the US, or
Also when you came back here?
Yeah, good question. Hang on, I can tell you right now. 1 second.
How old are you now?
I'm 42 in a couple of weeks. So what was I? I was
late 30s?
Yeah, 42. Yeah, so I was 34, 33, 34.
Yeah, again, just context of, really, really valuable.
Yeah, so it just kind of, like, when I moved to the US, I was 28, right? So, like, such a different dynamic. And, and it's so funny. I tell this story all the time. When I moved to the US, because I was a travel agent in Australia and, did pretty good. Like I had a good team. I was a good team leader. I was, good at getting results for my team, and probably didn't really realize how I was doing. I was just like, just want to make sure I'm motivating my team and getting them to, it was all about them, not about me. So I did good. Like I was a good leader and we made some good money. And then when the opportunity came to the US, I moved to Las Vegas, of all places to move to. And so I became a wholesale agent. So my customer now was the travel agent. And very quickly, I think I was there for about 3 or 4 months, and I was watching another area leader. So an area leader who looks after multiple sites and things like that. So that, a little bit higher than a team leader. And I was watching this dynamic unfold, and I just got this like, horrible ego, actually, is probably what I want to call it. Just this like, oh my God, I could so do their job so much better than them. Like, how are they able to be in this job? Like, I just started to build this this thing of like, I am so much better. I don't even know. That is so not my personality either, but it just came out. It was really ugly, actually. And I lived that so when I moved to Vegas, so I was in Vegas for a year, and then I moved to New Jersey, and that's where I stayed for the rest of the time. And I was like all about climbing the ladder. Like, I want to be an area leader. I don't care what I do. That is what I'm going to go and do. And when I was in Vegas, I realized very quickly that I needed to change my approach when it came to sales, because travel agents in the US, a lot of them were home agents, whereas now in Australia, that's become quite a thing, whereas America were probably a little bit more ahead of us in that space.
And does that mean you work from home?
Yeah, a lot of people working from home. So, you have good old Betty down in Tennessee who she's, calling me on her phone and still making her fried chicken on the other hand, and she, trying to do all her quotes at the same time. It was quite bizarre. Yeah. But one thing was that they needed a lot of help with destination knowledge. So I was doing all the world stuff, and they, were sending clients away that they didn't even know where it was. They didn't even know how far it was. They didn't know anything about the destination. And so I was doing so much destination training that I was like, I'm not making sales here. Like, I'm not making money. Like, they're not converting. So I thought, okay, I need to change this up a bit. So I started saying to them, look, Betty, I know you've been on hold for 2.5 hours, and trust me, I know that that's, a long time out of your day, but my job is to get you the booking across the line. And right now, we don't even know the customer's name. We don't know why they want to go. We don't know what they want to spend. We don't know why they're actually going to this destination or what's important to them. So let's do this. Let's go find out that information. And then here's my direct line. You don't have to wait 2.5 hours next time. Call me directly, and then let me get you this booking. And so I started just taking a bit more control and actually coaching them on how to qualify their customer better, so that when they called, they would have more, they would be better prepared to get the conversion across the line. Like, I would co-consult, like, are they with you now? Do you want to put me on speakerphone? Do you want to do it together? Or I'm here for you, right? So it was this whole, I am their hero. I am their silent hero that helps them get the sale across the line, because when they win, I win. So I didn't realize at the time, but my calls were being recorded, and we had a new program of coach call recording and coaching. And I got approached to be a call coach. Can you come across and do what you've done? Multiply that by 200 agents. I was like, oh, me? What? And so this fed the ego, right? So I was like, oh, yeah, all right, great. So great. I'm so good. Yeah. And then I went across, and then after the sales coaching gig was an area manager gig that came up, and I applied thinking, got this in the bag. I was so overconfident that I had this job, and I didn't get it. And I was so pissed off. I was like, are you joking me? I deserve that job. I'm doing that job tenfold more than your area. Like, so disgusting. Like, I look back and go, who was that? Like, that is so not me. I'm not that kind of person. And it really, I needed that. I think that was the lesson I needed to bring me down a couple of pegs and go, hang on.
Why didn't you get it?
I didn't get it because they said that I needed to be a travel agent in the US. So they said, you haven't been a travel agent, you've only been a wholesale agent.
Oh, okay. So that was the reason why. It wasn't because you weren't good enough. It's that you didn't have the tick on the box that you've been a travel agent in the US. Okay.
So I was like, how insulting. I just coach your travel agents every day. Like, hello. But yeah, I actually needed that kick in the guts because what came from that was probably the start of how I grabbed all this knowledge and expertise to be able to do the business that I'm doing now. So a lot of my business is modeled on the stuff that I did after that. So I had to be so I went back and became a travel agent, but I became it was like a village leader. So I looked after like so many different branches across the country. And then from that, I realized there was a major gap in the customer journey and experience. So there was no 24-hour emergency assist for retail customers. It was only for wholesale customers. And so I said, can we build this? Like, surely we can build this. So I built from scratch a 24-hour emergency assistance sales team so they could sell and they could help in an emergency. Yeah, and that was like amazing. It's like still today it's kicking goals so much. It was the best team I ever had. It was like 12 remote people all on different shifts. Like I did from nothing to build it up to what it was. So yeah, it was that was a good lesson. Like that was, and then after that I got asked to be an area leader. So after that I became an area leader, but I needed that lesson. I needed to be brought down a few.
But isn't that interesting how often this happens? That, you know, something where it feels like a door's closed, and of course you had your ego kind of ruling that roost.
Yeah.
But it was a gift that allowed you to go and maybe do something else, give you more validation in other areas to only then come back. So when you eventually became the area manager, did it give you all the satisfaction that you thought it would?
No. No.
Again, that was like a tongue-in-cheek question, but
I know.
this happens all the time. What was out of alignment for you?
Look, the expectations were way out. And I think this is where the pressure points started to build, right? Because it was like new leadership and it became more dictatorship, right? It was you need to fire this person because they're not giving you results. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. I've only just become the area leader. What sort of coaching have they had? Tell me, like, give me 3 months with them, please, to at least try and, you know, help understand why they're not doing the results and why their team aren't performing. Like, let me look under the hood about this. And I was like, nah, if you come back in 3 months and this person's still here and they're still producing that, it's your job on the line. And it's like, oh, okay. So, you know, there was that kind of pressure that was not about people. And that for me really didn't align. And that was 2.5 years of that kind of pressure, and it broke me. Like I'd be a bubbling mess every time I'd get to an event. I'd cry. I'd get really drunk. I'd get really I'd just be a hot mess, mate. Honestly, it was like and I think when you said before, like doing the inner work, I think actually now reflecting back on who I was showing up as myself, like I've learned so much lessons about that, like so much reflection on the ego, like that's never come back up again. And it's like, oh, it's so interesting that reared its head then. Why did it? And, you know, did it happen because then that gave me the opportunity to do the stuff after, you know, like I think that it's a lot of reflection and a lot of growing. Like, you know, I don't believe in regrets, but there's definitely things around. It's all lessons. Everything that gets thrown at you is a lesson. And and how you use it after that is where your power comes from. Because
totally, So what are the lessons did you learn? So it sounds like, you know, you've hit rock bottom.
Yep.
You've gone, I don't actually want to be here doing this. And instead of going off a cliff, you've actually relocated back to Australia.
Yeah.
And have rebuilt yourself, because, you know, we're talking to you now from this glorious place. What are some other lessons that you've learned over these last few years that, you know, they've really become gold and almost like carrying you through now into the success that you're experiencing?
Yeah, I think, well, again, probably surrounding yourself with some people that are in your corner. I've got a lot of mentors that, like, you know, especially in the industry that I was in, like, you know, really leaned on them a lot. You know, I remember being in Bali and I had probably about 3 or 4 mentors all in one spot. We were all out for dinner, and one of them turned around and said to me, you know what, Nick, you got 2 choices in life. You can either be on the bus or you can be off the bus. You cannot have 1 foot on and 1 foot off, because you're not going to be able to make that last. And that has stuck with me forever. And it's like, stop. Why? Who are you trying to please? Like, are you trying to? Are you doing it to appease other people, or are you doing it to better you? And I think that's probably the compass for myself that I've started to learn about, is going, if it doesn't work for me, then it's not meant to be. And that's and sometimes that's a tough choice to make, because you kind of go, I might be letting someone down, or I might be, because that's my style, right? Like, I don't like disappointing people, but at the same time, I've also got to protect myself. And I think the journey has taught me to love myself, and to be able to say that today without bursting into tears. 5 years, 8 years ago, if I'd have said love myself, I didn't love myself. I didn't love me, and I didn't love who I was, and I didn't love my situation. And that really showed, when I dated people, all of those things, right? It was just the pattern you can see very clearly now, sitting on this fence, but doing the work and realizing that I have some great skills, and I have some great, connections, and I have made a great group of friends. And and I think that's the thing of going, just start there. Why am I a good friend? Why am I a good family member? Why am I a good person to help people in business? And start doing that inner reflection work, because when you actually start to see the things that you are really good at, that helps fuel the confidence.
Totally. And even just back to your comment earlier, when you had last year, when maybe you weren't earning the money, and you were saying that the biggest resistance that was coming up was that you weren't making a contribution. The only thing here is that you weren't making a financial contribution. You were still making a contribution. I was going to come back to that, but it kind of is the perfect time now. That realizing sometimes when you're a good friend, it's not because you're giving your friend money. To be a good family member, it's not because you're giving, it's actually nothing to do with money. So you could be contributing in those areas of life, but yet not see it in your home life. Absolutely. And how that was playing out. It's really interesting.
And you're right, because I think, and you've probably done a lot of work with people as well around the money barrier, right? Like, I think we all have it, because I think when you think about generationally, like, our parents, their parents, the parents before them, like, money was always a burden or an issue, right? So I think it's kind of like we've just inherited this, like, big thing about, I've got to be earning money, and I've got to be, contributing money. But it's, you're right. Like, when you actually start going, well, even having someone say to me, it's not about the money. It's about, I just appreciate coming home to a happy house, and, and it's like, oh, okay, I never thought of it like that. But it's helped to do that in a loving of yourself, because, I guess, if I was to say to you even 12 months ago, even in January last year, so confused about my messaging and who I was and what I wanted to be out there in the world. And then having someone go, you're going to have to show up on social media. I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? LinkedIn, I haven't gone onto my LinkedIn for like 7 years. I think I still have a photo of me like, oh my God. And now, like, I show up every day, and sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and I've grown my following, and I've done it all organically, and I've done it because I knew I had to do it, get out of my comfort zone and go, you know what?
I can do this.
Okay.
And can I ask, has any of it felt uncomfortable?
Oh, at the start it did, because it was like, what do I talk about? What do I post? What do I do? And if I look back at some of my first ones, I'm like, what the freaking hell was I doing? And there's some posts that completely flop, but I did hire a LinkedIn coach, and I said to them, what do you do to build your followers and stuff? And, and the advice has been great. It's going, comment on other people, show up for people, and be yourself, because who you are is, I genuinely care about people, and I genuinely want people to succeed in life. And so that's how I show up online. Like, who you see is what you get. Like, I will be your cheerleader. I will be in the arena with you. I will be there to wipe the blood off your face, because I get it. Like, I know how hard it is, and it's, it's not as hard as you probably tell yourself at the start. Like, it's not that hard, but it is a discipline, right? And I think that's what it comes down to. It's a discipline. How bad do you want it? And
totally. And it's harder when you haven't started. As you get the momentum, as you start getting out there, as you start putting yourself out there, and you realize you can still survive and be safe doing it, albeit uncomfortable. The more of that you do, the more of that you can do. And I often refer to Mel Schilling, who's one of the judges or one of the experts on maths, Married at First Sight. She wrote a book called The C Word, and it's the C is confidence.
Right.
But what she talks about is not jumping out of your comfort zone, but expanding it. Yeah. And I know it's semantics, but what I love about that is that if you just jump out, the zone, so to speak, again, metaphorically, stays the same size.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do things which are expanding it, the zone gets bigger, which means you can do the more things that scare you, you can do more things that scare you, which means you can do more things that scare you, which means you can do more things that scare you. So it's kind of that. When I learnt that, I'm like, oh, okay, so push a little bit, push a little bit, push a little bit, then the zone gets bigger. So now you would show up on social media, show up on a video, show up on a podcast, and albeit there might be some butterflies in your belly, but you're going to do it and you're not going to go, I'm going to actually vomit before I do it.
Oh, totally. And, I remember being in the US, and the first time my mentor said to me, right, you're up presenting on stage to 250 people. I'm like, are you? No, because I'd prepared all the slides for her to do. She's like, no, I'm not doing it. You're doing it. I'm like, she told me on that day, you're up. I'm like, what? She's like, the content, you've done it all, you've put it all together. And I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go run off and vomit now. Yeah. And I'm standing in front of people, red face, shaking, jittering, stumbling my words. To what you saw on stage, like that's taken, like that's, like you said, it's literally that ripple effect, isn't it? It's going,
totally.
I do the whole, it's a 1% every day. If you did 1%, just something out of your comfort zone, 1%, like don't have to go full hog. You don't have to eat the elephant in one sitting. You just one little bite. And then all of a sudden you look back in a year and you go, oh my God, look at all the stuff that I've done. Like I just had no idea like I could do that. And that's what it takes, right? You just have to have the courage, first of all, to just try. Yeah. And then, what I always give this to my coaching clients. I always say, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, honestly, what would be the worst thing that could happen to you in that moment? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, think about it. Really think about it. Like, what could possibly go wrong? And they're like, I don't know. Like, someone tells me, or someone boos me. I'm like, okay, that's the worst. Great, let's work on, honestly, because it's all this like subconscious like chatter that happens, to protect.
You sound like my mother, because all growing up, that was my mum's favorite line was, what's the worst that can happen? And I remember when I was going through my driver's test, and I turned 18 a couple of months after a lot of my friends. They'd all got it on first go. And I was one of those overachiever high performers, and the whole, but what if I fail? What if I fail? And she's like, oh my God, what's the worst that could happen? And I'm like, I fail my driver's test. She said, no, the worst. And I couldn't answer. And she said, that you die. Okay. We're working back from that. And I'm like, okay. The context was like, oh, so if I fail my driver's test, but I'm still alive, and I've got a chance to go again, freaking let's not go. So yeah, this was a mantra growing up. What other lessons have you learned in your journey, particularly the last couple of years when it has been more of an inner journey, that now has become almost like a mantra that you then work on when you're coaching your clients in sales?
Yeah, I think for me it's going, because I have so much, I've worked really hard on the reframing the narratives, like reframing the, what do you call them? Just the stories that you have that I think it's just working on the awareness piece. And so I think for me, it's going, I have this belief triangle that I use all the time, and it's literally going, what you believe you achieve. And if you believe you can't do it, you won't. And if you believe you can, you will. And the thing is going, I've gone on my own, like when I was in the US, again, I was not in a great place, but I was also really unhealthy, right? So I was really overweight and really just gross, right? And I have been on every if you could tell me a diet, I promise you I've been on it. Like I have done every diet under the sun, and I've done that my whole life, yo-yoed up and down. And then when you actually stop to do the work to go, why is this a pattern? Why am I not losing the weight for good? Why does it keep coming back? And what's happening here? And then it's when you do the inner like diving and you go, oh, it's this self-loathing, like it's this I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm not loving what I see, and this is the emerging pattern for me. So then I did my own belief triangle on myself, and I worked on my own, like, what am I saying about myself? I'm saying that I'm fat. I'm saying that I'm unhealthy. I'm saying that I'm not worthy. I'm trying to dress to impress other people. Why is it always about everyone else? Why isn't it about, I just want to be healthy for me? And so, so I've gone on this journey. It's taken, like, I've been home 8 years now, but it's like, it's taken a long time. Probably the last 3 years it's been stable, so I've kept it off. But I've lost 45 kilos from being back in Australia, and I've not put it back on
45.
again. Yeah. So I know it's a lot of weight, and that's where I think for me was my light bulb moment to go, I know the power of the belief system that we have inside of us, and that's why I use it in sales, because the belief is such a roadblock to so many things in so many ways. And it's once you start peeling back the layers of where does that come from? Where does that story come from? How come you think that no one wants to buy from you? How come you think that no one wants to say yes? Or why do you think that they're going to think that you're hounding them if you follow up? Like, where does that come from? Let's pull that back and let's rewrite that narrative. And that's what's been the compass for me. Like, that's been the aha moment to go, if I had have had this tool 10 years ago, who knows where I would have been now. But I think, I'm so grateful of the journey that I've had. Like, I'm so, I'm just such a stronger person because of all the lessons I've had. And I think it's the reflecting on the lessons that's made me even more powerful, because I think it's going, oh shit, now I get it.
But you had to go through it.
Yes.
To learn the lesson. Someone else telling you was not, well, as you said, you tried all the diets and nothing. Now it makes more sense. You made a comment before about if you had have said to yourself, I love you 7, 8, 9 years ago, you would have, the way, even your body language when you went, I just couldn't have done it. So you saying you can now say it and feel good, like that transformation is bigger with the context of what you've just shared. It's like,
absolutely.
Oh, wow. What other narrative were you telling yourself that you can recall that was useless? Like it was of no benefit whatsoever, that you've had to change, that have, led you to where you are today?
Yeah. Look, I think the thing is that, we all have these, societal, what do you call them? Like tick marks along our journey, like, you go to school, you go to uni, you get married, you have children, there's all these landmarks, like tick marks that you need to hit. I've always been a very career driven person, but the thing is that, like, I always used to struggle with finding a partner. Right. And so for me, the story was, no one's going to love you. No one, you're going to be left on the shelf. Like, you're just no one's going to want to be with you. That look at the way you look at the way, they don't want to be with you because you're fat. They don't want to be with you because you're too much, you do too much work, you work too much. No one wants to be with you because you don't, like, just these ridiculous stories, and you're believing them so much, because then you go on a date and you meet a loser, and then it feeds the doubt, right? See, told you, not going to have that. And it's like, I remember, and I don't know if anyone listening is into this, but I'm such a believer of, there's so many universes out there and things like that. And I had a psychic tell me once, we have the perfect man for you. Your angels are telling you there's the perfect man for you, but you always pick the broken one. You always pick someone that you need to fix. You always pick someone that you need to focus your energy on them and not on you. And so stop it, because we have the right man for you and he's waiting for you, but we can't introduce you to him yet because you're not ready. You need to love you. And that was like, when I first moved back to Australia, that was when I had that conversation, and I listened back to that message, and everything she said has come true. It's so crazy.
So who told you that?
There was a psychic that I knew. Someone referred to her, and I drove out to Bendigo, I think it was, and I had this conversation with her, and she was like, you got to give some love back to you. I'm sitting in her chair sobbing because I'm so completely and utterly not in love with myself and broken, right? And
wondering why you can't find a partner who loves you. You don't love you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not letting love in. No.
And so fast forward to COVID, I met my partner online, and it's so this is the story I tell myself about it, because I think it's so funny, because I never used to believe in Tinder, because I'd be like, oh, how did people judge people by a photo? It's so ridiculous. And now we're all locked up in our houses, and I'm not going to be able to go to a bar and meet anyone, am I? So I better just get on Tinder and figure it out. And I met my partner Niall within 5 days of being on the app. And there was 5 other matches that I matched with, and I'm one of those people that start the convo first. Hi, thanks for matching. Oh my god, how are you? Nah. And then I messaged 5 people, and he was the only one who got back to me. So I tell myself the story that because I knew, well, from that 7 years prior, that lady had told me he's the one. No one else responded back, because the angels were like, no, she's not for you. She's not for you. She's not for you.
They're swiping left or the other way. The way that, even though they,
Yeah, and we've been together 5 years this year, and it was funny because she said it'll be quick, right? She's like, it'll be fast. So we met in May, we moved into December, we bought a house in April, and well, I'm still waiting for a ring, but we're basically married anyway when you have a house, right?
So absolutely.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. But then I go, if I hadn't have done that for me, would I have been who I am for both of us today? And for me, and showing up in my space in the relationship. And I'd probably say no, I wouldn't have been the person I am now in the relationship, and it probably might not even be the right one, right? But it's exactly where we both want to be, and it's worked out. And it's like I said, having someone who backs you 2,000% has just been a game changer for me, because I just had told myself previously that would never happen, right? So
people like me don't get or have relationships like that. Yeah. Until you do.
You do, and then you go, wow, I'm really, I'm really grateful, and I'm really appreciative. And I think what you said before, what's a narrative, like at the start was hard to say it out loud, but now when something good happens, I'll say, I'm so proud of me. Like, I'm so proud that I just got that gig, or I'm so proud that I just put myself out there and got that response. Like, it sounds cheesy and weird, but it is such like a game changer. Like, you've got to feed your subconscious. You've got to feed it the good stuff, not just the bad stuff. Like, don't. Like, I listened to a podcast the other day. Someone said, treat your subconscious like a child. Would you tell a child, you're an idiot? Why would you do that? No, you probably wouldn't do that. I hope you wouldn't anyway. But, you wouldn't say that. So don't say that to yourself, because it listens to everything you feed it. So you've got to be kind to yourself.
You do, and that inner critic does enough of the pulling you down on its own. It doesn't need it from your conscious mind as well, or your conscious brain, or verbally. You don't need any of that. But it's interesting, isn't it? You don't realize this until you've done the work, or until you're on that journey, until you're unpacking. Like, there's so many things, I'm learning all the time, and I'll see, people reacting to me in a certain way, and had someone pull me up and say, well, look how you're reacting to others. They're just mirroring. It's like, oh my goodness. Oh my God. How did I not see that? It's like, because I wasn't ready to see that. I wasn't in that kind of frame where I was even allowing those lessons to come through the door. Yeah. So, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you grow, that kind of thing. So, totally. Oh, wow. Oh, Nicole, I could just talk to you forever. I can't believe it. I'm going to have to wind it up. But what's the next thing you've got to really reach in and find courage for then? And it doesn't have to be work, although I'm assuming work will be a big part of it.
Yeah, look, I think, this year more than anything is where I've really leaped into a lot more consistency in my, into my work. So I think for me, it was funny, I wanted to start a group coaching for travel agents, actually. And so it's, the metaphor for me was like, I feel like I was standing on a balcony looking down at all these people who were like, hey, Nick, we really want to work with you. And I'm like, hey, I'm just waving and not doing anything. And then someone said, I'm waiting for you to start a program or something. I'm like, oh, yeah, right, okay. So, like, because I procrastinated about being bloody perfect about everything, I just went, oh, screw it, I'm just going to try. And so I did, and I got 5 people straight up, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that was okay. Wow. And so for me, I think I just need to work on a couple of things of how I can get a few passive things happening, right? So I really want to work on a book. I really want to work on my self-paced coaching, where it's like go and do a sales course. It's self-paced. Go and do it yourself. I put a lot of my, brain dumping into it. So it'll be great quality, but it's like really putting some time and effort into that. So that, I think, for me is going to put me out of my comfort zone, because I think for me, I'm a visionary. I always think of all the things, but then the actual doing is where I need a coach to go, how have you gone? Have you done that this week? How's that looking? And it's like, yeah, got ya. Because otherwise I can be very shiny thing. And I know that about myself. So I think, when you know your strengths and you know your opportunities, you lean on people that are going to help you pull that in. So
Oh, absolutely. And, I once heard the term, and I relate, I'm exactly the same. And it's like, you're a really good starter, but a really bad
yes.
finisher. And I'm like, oh my God, that's me. I start a billion things.
I know.
The follow through and the, making sure it carries through to the end or implements it or something. Need a sales performance coach. Yeah, go figure. And what's one bit of advice that you could share with the audience now who, part of their role is sales, which a lot of people, their role is sales. I don't care whether you're an employee, whether you're running your own business, sales comes into it in some respect. What's one bit of advice that you see, or one thing that people are not doing that you see regularly, that if they just did that one thing, it could turn things around for them?
Oh God, pick one, Nicole.
Yeah, how long's the piece of string?
I know. I'm going to squeeze two in really quick.
You can do two.
The first one is have a really good conversation. Like, I feel like we're in such an AI mode now where so much is automated, or we also need to get information to plug into some kind of a device to spit out the answer for a customer. And I feel like a lot of the times we glaze over what's really important to the customer because we've got it in our brain to get the information, right? So we're semi like a computer. Hi, how are you? I need this, I need that, I need this, spit it out, here's the price, right? And so I find that what differentiates us from online is you. So be you, be curious, get under the hood about who you've got in front of you, understand their problem or journey, and they've come to you. At the end of the day, you haven't picked up and gone through, remember the yellow pages back in the day? But I haven't gone through the yellow pages and gone, I heard you wanted my product. Like, you haven't done that. They've come to you. So understand what it is and why they need you. So figure that out first. That's number one. And then the second biggest tip I've got is that so many people focus on funnels and leads to try and get new clients in. I'm just saying, look under your nose. You've probably got a really good database. Just follow people up. Keep in touch. Birthdays, anniversaries, special occasions. Take note of these. And guess what? If we don't talk about it in the conversation, this is why follow-up can feel cold and hot and hard, because you don't have a warm lead to actually connect with someone with, right? Like, if you just went, like, I don't know you, I don't know when your birthday is, and then randomly I call you and go, hey, Kim, when's your birthday? And you're like, what? Like, but if I knew when your birthday was and I'd reach out and go, hey, Kim, just wanted to send you a message to say happy birthday. Hey, if you ever need this, keep me in mind. Just, it's so much softer and easier, right? Because you've already built the connection. So I would say work on your connection with your customer and work on a way of how you stay in touch, because they are your biggest asset. They already like you. They've already bought from you, and they will probably be advocates to tell other people about you. So stand out by just following up, because no one's doing that.
Oh, totally. And what's one thing, because I find a lot of people when it comes to follow-up, it's like, oh, but I don't want to feel like I'm being pushy.
Well, you are being pushy if you don't have a connection piece, right? Like, you are, if you haven't built a bridge of connection, it is hard and it is icky, and your customer doesn't expect you to reach out. So that's why it's hard.
Yeah. Whereas if you have the connection, it just feels like you're catching up or following up a conversation or a connection, as opposed to trying to follow up on pushing a product or a sale or something. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you are a wealth of knowledge. Oh my goodness. If somebody wants to know a bit more about you, I obviously will put the details in the show notes.
Yeah, sure.
But where would they go if they just want to learn a bit more, if they want to have a conversation with you about how you could help them, work with them? Where should they go first?
Look, jump on LinkedIn first. Jump on there, DM me, just say, hey, would love a chat. And my business is called Bird's Eye View Consulting. So I have a website. You can jump on there and you can book a call with me as well. So, if you want to have a chat, I'd love to find out how we can remove some of those barriers and roadblocks and get you kicking goals personally and professionally.
And as I said, sales is such a big part of life. And so many people, even in sales roles, have barriers or resistance to doing it properly. So, like I said, I'm sure you're going to be busy for a long, long, long time. But you had to work on you first, which is really important. You've done that. And now here's to Nicole O'Sullivan and out there. Nicole, thank you so much. You are bloody good at what you do. And nobody can ever tell you otherwise because you know how good you are. We all now have learnt how good you are. And just thank you for sharing some of your pearls of wisdom. Really look forward to seeing, where this journey takes you over the next year or two.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kim. And it's been an absolute honour being on your podcast. And like I said, hearing your story as well was extremely motivating and inspiring. And so, I know you're doing some incredible work with a lot of people out there as well. So how lucky are people in the network, right? So thank you.
And like you, big thing for me, which is for you, is making a contribution that helps others. So
sure.
Here's to making more. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. I appreciate it. Appreciate you as well.